Oh, hello. We're back again. I'm back. Did you miss me? You damn well better of you naughty students. Hello. Come on in. It's good to see all of you. We're starting back with an educational stream, but not education in the boring way. Not like your teachers did at school and at high school and all that. Wes, thank you for the super. I didn't do it. Nah. Oh, hey, Sadie. Come on in. It's lovely to see you. And of course you didn't do it. I didn't see anything. It's wonderful. It's good to be back. It's really, really good to be back. I know, 2 whole days without me. Trust me, I had to go 2 whole days without all of you. I was shaking and moaning, and I thought I was getting withdrawals. I missed this too much. I was playing Genshin Impact, right? I was playing Genshin Impact, and I caught myself turning around and going, "Hey chat, today we're going to do more Primo." I'm like, oh, I'm on my own. Lin Yu, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Much appreciated. And also, stop. The class hasn't started yet, but don't let me see you taking your phone out of your bag, okay? You can check the time, but it's face down, okay? Or you can listen to Spotify. I'm one of those cool teachers that lets you listen to music while you work, okay? I'm one of those cool teachers. Okay, thank you so much. Blessed. But I hope you all are doing good. Apparently, somehow, some way, it's the week of my birthday. The week of my birthday. Who'd believe that? The week of my birthday. Hazi, welcome to the Netherbranded. I promise you, the morning after is even better than the night before. I'm the best mistake you shall ever make. Welcome. Who'd have thought, though? 127 years old. I didn't realize that was a K-pop thing. Apparently that's a K-pop thing. But no, I'm old. The birthday week sounds exciting. Well, trust me, I plan to have you even more excited than I am. Because I have some rather amazing events lined up. And I need to tell you all. I need to tell you all. Okay, I need to hype something for you, just minorly. Okay, it's something that I discovered. So we're having, you know how we're doing. Oh, Miki-san, we missed you so much, Zanny. Well, I missed all of you too. Honestly, though, I did actually miss you. I got to the thing where I was watching one of Cass's streams, and I had this moment where Cass was bantering with the chat, and I was there that should be me. I should be doing that. That should be me. I need to I actually had to stop watching because of the FOMO. Holly, thank you so much. Your first ever super. Thank you so much for the Akachaka. Happy early birthday. Thank you. I can't wait to celebrate it with all of you. Thank you very, very much. And of course, I have got something special planned because I figured even though my birthday's Sunday, it's going to be with all of the boys. So the tea party that we're having on Friday, I thought the handcam tea party might be a really, really lovely opportunity to have some one-on-one time with us, right? So I've done something special. For it. And that is that I've ordered a classical British cast iron teapot for it, right? I've ordered a classical English cast iron teapot, and I've also found a bakery not too far from where I am. It's only about 30 something minutes away, right? Which does fancy pastries. So I'm getting us a spread of fancy pastries and a cast iron teapot, and we shall sit and we shall drink tea. And I've ordered tea internationally, so we have options. We have Earl Grey, we have Lincolnshire, we have herbal, we have Lipton, we have several varieties of tea. So we're going to be sitting down and we're going to be enjoying afternoon tea with little pastries, and it's going to be lovely. Thank you for the super. Welcome back, Zanny. I am very, very glad to be back. I missed you all terribly, and I do mean that. I actually really did miss all of you. So I thought that us having a nice afternoon tea together would be lovely. Really, really lovely. And I stopped by the bakery, and they don't just do like traditional pastries. They do European pastries, they do French pastries, they do Eastern European pastries, they do Spanish pastries, they even do some Moroccan pastries. So I figured we would just go with a nice smorgasbord of different pastries from throughout Western Europe, or like Europe in general, which would be rather lovely. Berry, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. I am most appreciative. Thank you, thank you. Flustered tea party. Well, it would be very good. Very, can't believe I'm saying this. Very Bridgerton of us. Delightful, delightful. But, all of you are here for one reason, and that's not to have nice, flirty, soft Zanny. No, not necessarily. 𝓂𝓸𝓾𝓻, welcome to the Netherbranded. Best decision you've made today, or worst. Depends on how you like it. No, you're not here for soft, flirty Zanny. You're here for teacher Zanny. You're here for strict, harsh teacher Zanny. And I must say, to all of you who handed out the amazing little bits of fiction and short stories and drabbles that you put on my Twitter tag, the hashtag Zander Netherbrand, I read them all, okay? I'd like to give all of you 2 thumbs up. Okay, I did read through. I loved the one, there is one person in particular, I shan't name you because you know who you are, but you put at the beginning the two parts of the conflict chart that you chose, and I'm very proud of you. You did very, very good, okay? Very, very good. Now, hot teacher Zanny, class is in session. Class is in session. Sorry, I got carried away. Nah. Hi, Professor Zanny in the Netherlands. I was nearly late for class since it just ended. Can I eat my dinner in class, guys? Professor, I'm hungry for knowledge. Indeed, you're more than welcome to eat in class. We're one of those places where it's welcome to eat in class. Also, 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽. Heart, right back at you. Of course. And 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽. Yippee, morning Zander. I'm drawing a new draw, brackets, it's you. Also, soon done. Have a good day. Hey, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day too. Oh, Antoinette, do you have a birthday hashtag, sir? That's a wonderful idea. Oh, nice works with the same question. Is there a birthday hashtag? You know what? We will make one up now. Do you know what it's going to be? You know what? I'm breaking the rules of my own class here. I'm taking out Twitter. I know, but then again, I know half of you are scrolling on Twitter right now. I know half of you are. And I'm going to simply put on Twitter, the hashtag is going to be, let me see if anyone's using it. Hashtag Netherbirthday. No one's using hashtag Netherbirthday. Perfect. And then again, fuck Beetlejuice. He was trying to step on my... I took the block from him. Netherbirthday. Birthday hashtag. Yeah, there we go. Hashtag Netherbirthday. I'll make a whole little post about it afterwards, but I'll just drop... I'll drop a little heart on there, and then just go. How do I words? For anyone who wants to leave a message, or anything birthday related. I've got the hashtag. The hashtag for you. There you go. Look at you having wonderful ideas. Look, that class hasn't even started and you're already having wonderful ideas. Love that. There we go, post. Netherbirthday. There we go. It's so on fleek. It's so on brand. Maybe change the I to 1 for first birthday here. Decent idea. But I think I'll stick with Netherbirthday just for now, just because of the fact that you know how it is. I get easily confused. Now, with Netherbirthday out there, okay? Ready to be embraced by the world, to be gripped, ready to be a hickey on the neck of the world. I think we need to turn around and get into class, because you're here for one reason, right? And that's Villain 101. Now, I've seen some extremely positive reviews of people talking about my last class, and I would like to say thank you to all of you. I saw people turning around and saying that I taught them better than their own writing teacher, that they genuinely learned things from me, and that learning from me is fun. So I thought that we should turn around and get back into it. Now, class, are you ready? Because I've worked on another presentation for all of you, and it is one that is going to carve itself into your body and mind. Behold. Let's Be Villainous, a Zander Netherbrand presentation. Today, we are going to be teaching you all about how to write the best villain ever, whether it's your first time writing one or whether it's your last time writing one, whether you're a prolific writer or a beginner. This is designed for you to be able to enter at any level you so desire and make something beautiful and brilliant. As always, all images is used as stock stuff, and everything on here is stuff that's come from my little old noggin. So everything expressed is a personal opinion of mine. It's not necessarily going to be fact, but everything I say is correct. Do you know why? Because I said it. So without further ado, we're going to be talking about villains. Now, for anyone who's asking themselves the regular question of why listen to this guy, I thought I'd just cover this again for those who might not know or might need a refresher, because obviously, there's no reason to listen to me if I'm just some random villain, right? If I'm a random individual. So, why listen to me? Well, I am Zander Netherbrand. I have a degree in an associated topic to writing and the creation of theatre. I am a playwright as well. I've written several shows that have been shown in both London and Barcelona, as well as several other theatres throughout Europe. I have had shows I had to leave the little and ... there because of the fact that I almost doxed myself before I came on. I was nominated for an award in both voice acting and also script writing, as well as having worked with members of the Spanish Academy, or the Latin Academy, sorry, while I was doing my thing. So, also, child actor turned Incubus adult. Who knew? Who knew? We're very pog here. We're very pog. So, if you needed a reason to listen to me and actually lend some credibility to my words, okay? Lend a little bit of credibility. There it is. We're going to go through this review every time, not because I enjoy looking at myself while stroking my ego, but nearly said another word instead of ego then, but instead simply because it adds a little bit of credence. Now, with that, we bring ourselves to our first question, all right? What is a villain? Fundamentally, class, fundamentally. Now, I want you all as well, if you haven't got your notebooks out or your phones ready to take notes, be ready to take note. This will be a VOD later. However, there is going to be a question break partway through, and there's going to be another question break at the end. So I will be able to answer things, but if you have things you'd like to explore, feel free to note questions as we go. We're going to try our damnedest. Now, what is a villain? Okay, what is a villain? Villains are instrumental in driving the plot of your story forwards, creating conflict and tension. Fundamentally, they're a challenge for our protagonist to force them to confront their weaknesses, fears, or beliefs, okay? The presence of a villain should always add depth and complexity to a story. The narrative is going to always be driven by the strength of a villain. A weak protagonist, a protagonist who is written weakly, can be carried by the strength of the villain. Here is a good example for all of you now. And yes, I spelled villain wrong. I'm dyslexic. Please forgive me. But for those who care, for those who deeply care, right? For those who deeply care, okay? For those who deeply care, a good example of a villain carrying a plot forward is most video games. Look at video games with a silent protagonist, right? How much strength does a silent protagonist in a video game have? Look at any of the major series. Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, anything written by Ubisoft, to be honest. Let's be honest, they haven't written a good story in about 20 years. So, anything like that, okay? It's not the heroes that carry the story. It's the villains. It's the people you're out to kill. Why? Because they're nefarious and engaging. A perfect example of this, Vas Montenegro from Far Cry 3. We play a silent college jock who doesn't speak for most of the game, right? But the crazy, insane, hot guy that was played by Nacho from Better Call Saul, ooh, for days, that man could hold me underwater and I'd thank him, you know? Crazy. He does hold you underwater at one stage. Also, Talia, thank you for the super. Just here a sec, because Sleepy from Genshin, see you at the VOD. All good, all good, all good. Looking forward to you taking the catch-up class. Right. Now, turning around on top of that, there are several... in fact, I would say, class, feel free to turn around and say other villains that you would say carry the plot more than your heroes. I'll be giving out gold stars for those who turn around and say something. In fact, one that I would say, actually Talia, who just supered. Talia, Genshin Impact is a very good example of the villains carrying the plot more than the hero, right? Good one, very good one. Clippy, the Fatui compared to the Traveler, you read my mind. Think of how much personality all of the Fatui have, right? Look at Child, when he pins you up against the wall and calls you girly, right? When he's like, hey there, girly, you know, and just does all of that. That's just so much more compelling than, you know, your little blonde twink that I play going, you know. Look at any of the Fatui. Look at what's his name? The Scaramouche. Can you do the Fandango? Wonderful example. He's compelling. He's bad. He's kind of, you know, he's got the swagger to him. Far Cry 4, Ming, Pagan Ming as well. Wonderful example, Wes. Okay, wonderful. There you go. I'm sticking a gold star to your forehead. Okay. Dottore Pantalone, correct. The Ice Queen from the first Narnia film. Honkai Star Rail, good example as well. The ones where the protagonists are bland slices of toast, okay? They are literally what the British call a toast sandwich, because the British are the inventors of the toast sandwich, right? Right? Oh. So I normally hold off to take questions. However, someone in chat asked a very good question. I think Fatuis are more of an anti-hero than the difference between what's the difference between anti-heroes and villains? That's a very, very, very good example. So what you've demonstrated there is a transformative narrative, okay? The Fatui start off as villains, as they are standing in the way of the hero. They are antagonistic to the hero's wants and desires. However, after battling them and defeating them, they then turn into anti-heroes as a common ground is reached between the hero and the anti-hero. So heroes and anti-heroes always fundamentally have some type of common ground, right? Look at Batman and Red Hood. Batman might be the hero, however, Red Hood is the anti-hero because he's willing to kill. However, the common ground between the two is they both want to keep people safe. They just have two very different extremes of how to go about it. And the question is, neither of them could really be considered more right than the other in that example. You know, Batman's a bit, you know, how do I say it? Touched for not killing the Joker sooner because of the fact that, like, you know, this guy's killed thousands, yet you turn around and say time to put him in a room that he'll escape from in 10 minutes and do it all over again. While Red Hood's like, why don't we just put a bullet in him? That saves a lot of time. Vigilantes almost are always anti-heroes. That's a lovely one. Okay. Every Disney film ever, all the villains are cooler. Almost, I would agree with that in almost every case, but Descendants, which Descendants was a perfect example of of villains sort of themed around, of anti-heroes being the perfect example of heroes. It's a very nuanced take. I could actually go on a whole rant about how Descendants was very, very good, but we will hold off on that for another time. If evil, why hot? That's the name of slide number 8. So, with that in mind, a villain fundamentally is the antagonist to the hero. They are an obstacle that stands in their way, and, if written correctly, should be the most dangerous obstacle in their way. Maybe not directly, but through what they can plan, what they can think, and what they can achieve, they should be the most dangerous. Do you understand? Yes? Yes, yes. So, with that in mind, with the fundamental concept of what is a villain covered, we are moving to the next slide. Why do we need villains? Why do we need villains? That's a very, very good question. A very, very good question, right? The bad and the good. We're starting off with the bad because it's bad for the protagonist, but good for everything else, you know? So it's kind of a flip back and forth. Okay. So, the bad. The most common source of your protagonist's pain or trials. There is an inherent difficulty in keeping a villain fresh, okay? Do you understand what I mean when I say keeping a villain fresh? How many times have you enjoyed a series or a plot or a show or a book, but the villain becomes extremely one note after a while? They do the same thing again and again, and they don't seem to do anything new. It's the same handful of cards dealt again and again and again. To use another example from video games, Vaas was very good, but once he's killed and taken out of the plot and you have Hoyt instead in Far Cry 3, suddenly it's a lot more boring, okay? Eggman, they managed to get around Eggman being a villain by making him more human, but even then, you know, if he was just doing the same, let's get Sonic again and again and again, it stops being engaging. The best villains reinvent themselves and their strategies. The best villains are unpredictable. And as I go on to say, a good villain needs to be constantly reinvented to continue to feel engaging. And that is in regards to an audience. The Power Rangers villain, wonderful, wonderful thing there, Joey. Wonderful thing, okay? The Power Rangers villains, the Super Sentai people. How many times can we beat Rita Repulsa? How many times? Obviously, it's written for children in the West and all of that. But in regards to all of this, you know, all of this, okay? Honkai Star Rail. Yes. How many times do we get sick of a villain when they keep coming back, they get sent away, they come back, and they don't change their plot, they don't change their plan, they don't change their tactics. It becomes unengaging. They don't feel like a threat anymore. They don't feel like something dangerous. They're just part of the furniture. They're boring. It's Azula. It's blur. It's blur. Blur. Okay? It's blur. It's there, okay? Makes me want to scrub my tongue. Okay, it's there, you know. Azula, of course, a good villain. She has the crazy, but she goes through the transformation of becoming sort of a bit crazier. That's how she reinvents herself. Azula's the perfect example of a villain that as soon as she started to feel one note, she was reinvented to be something fresher. But there is that little tiny window there, a tiny window where she did fall into like a tiny bit of one note, and then the reinvention happened, and she just popped off. Okay. Villains pop off when they reinvent themselves, okay? The good, okay? Providing a source of opposition and creating opportunities for character growth and development, a villain will take on a life of their own and present you narrative opportunities throughout the story. Now, from a writing point of view, okay? From a writing point of view, your villain will present you so many beautiful, delicious, wonderful, delightful, so incredibly hot opportunities. Okay, I'm gripping my desk with the idea of the many things that villains could do to me. Okay, they give opportunities. Why? Because now this is a cheat code early. This is an early cheat code for all of you. Okay, so I want you to make a note of this in your notebooks. Okay. Okay, make a note of this. Okay, make a note of this. Villains are the catalyst of change. Villains are the catalyst of change. Villains make change. Villains make change. Villains make change. Are you here with me on this? Okay? Villains make change. By making change, that is what challenges the protagonist. Okay? We're all on the same page with this. We're all on the same page with this. Okay? Good. Good. Real. Noted. Thank you. You're a wonderful class. I couldn't have asked for better. Now, villains make change. That is their key role in a narrative structure, and it's not good change for the protagonist. Sometimes it could be. Sometimes it's subversive in that way. But as a rule of thumb, villains bring negative change for your protagonist, which is wonderful because it introduces so many wonderful ways to just torture your protagonist. It's delightful. Make your characters suffer. Make them suffer. Do it. Now, with that statement then cleared up, we're moving on to our next slide. Okay? This was quite a light one. Okay, keynotes now. Remember this one. Keynotes. Remember this one. Villains are commonly associated with evil deeds and nefarious intentions. They can also be portrayed in a more nuanced manner with motivations and backstories that add layers to their character. Some villains may even exhibit redeeming qualities or undergo a transformation over the course of a story. Okay? Now, this is where we were latching on to things that were mentioned earlier, right? This is where we were talking about things that were mentioned earlier. Okay? For example, Azula had some redeeming qualities. Azula transformed over the course of a story. Zuko transformed from being, one of these very, very edgy, sort of negative, nuanced villains into a hero. Redeeming qualities will always. Someone's leaving class early. Let me write you a hall pass. Hold up there. If you're leaving class early, let me write you a hall pass. Give me 1 second. Right. And all right, there you go. Someone stops you in the hall, take that. Okay. I want to see you with notes. There you go. Okay. Now, where the fuck were we? Do I see laughing in the back of the class? Straighten up. This is a serious class. Okay, serious. Stiff upper lip. Sound like fucking Uncle Mary. All right, let's go. So. Villains will always undergo change. Give their journey as much attention and detail as you would your hero. Okay, give them as much love and attention as you would your hero. In fact, favor them. I treat my villains like my favorite child. Okay, so I'm the typical terrible parent where in my mind, I have 2 kids, right? I have 2 kids. One's a villain, one's a hero. And I pit them against each other and make them fight for my love. But they don't know the villain's always going to win. I'm always going to love the villain more. So one of them's fighting a fruitless battle to gain my affection, and the other one's just anxious about losing something they never could to begin with. Okay, happily Miller. So, with that in mind, that sort of narrative drama, that sort of reason, when you give your characters that reason to push themselves, okay, and that's a metaphor, of course, right? But when you give your characters a reason to push themselves and move faster and harder and go beyond their limits, especially when you pit, because this is a metaphor for essentially pitting your hero and your villain against each other, because their job is to push each other to greater highs and greater lows. Push them harder and harder and harder. And, with that in mind, when they're doing better and doing more, and the hero is pushing the villain to be a better version of themselves, a more villainous version of themselves, the villain's pushing the hero to, take as far as they can go. There's so much that they can do. Both of them have to level up their game as characters in order to win, which is wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. It's lovely. Now, with that keynote, with that keynote, okay, we're going to slow down a little bit here and take a pause for questions, okay? But I've also started adding a little, let me move over, an in review section. So whenever I do pauses for questions from now on, if I do more of these classes, which, you know, if you guys like this, if you guys like have the watches and drop me the likes and all that stuff, then, you know, I don't see why we wouldn't do more of these. But I'm always going to add these little in review sections so I can go back over key points that I might have missed, right? So in review, villains always drive the plot forwards, okay? Villains must be dynamic and keep their character fresh, okay? Keep inventing and reinventing. And of course, the villain must always steal the show in each scene they are in, okay? Now, I haven't touched on that one yet. That was coming a little bit later, but that is something I would touch on now. Who's my favorite villain so far, Prof? That's a very, very, very good question. Okay. So I have a bit of a nuanced take on villainy, somewhat, right? And and someone's going to say this is a bullshit answer because it's not a real villain. However, my somewhat narrative-brained headcanon says something slightly different. And that would be I believe. Okay. All right, here we go. I would say the protagonist from the movie Drive is also its greatest antagonist. Okay? Because of the fact that as a character, he is written in such a way, if you haven't seen the movie, then I'm going to sound insane, but as a character, he is written in such a way that it is implied throughout the film that he was the villain in someone else's story prior to the movie. So this is a villain that has become a hero, or should I say not a hero, but a protagonist of his own story. And he is now trying to live like a normal person. And at the end of the day, villains, once their story ends or is over in one world, they don't get the right to live as normal people afterwards. They are bad people, and there are scenes throughout the entire movie which imply that he is not a good person. There's the elevator scene where he proceeds to stomp someone to death. There is the scene where he puts on a mask and gets a hammer and proceeds to hammer someone to death. Right? These are not the actions of an individual who is a hero. These are the actions of an individual who is a villain, who is playing at being a hero. He inserts himself into the life of a single mother who needs stability. He turns around and believes that he can have this life with her where he can be a normal, nice guy, right? When in reality, he is anything but. And that true nature shows. It's the scorpion and the frog dilemma. A scorpion cannot change his nature. He cannot change the fact that he will continue to hurt those around him. That is my little moment. Okay? That is my little moment. Now to answer the questions here. Can you be my uni professor instead? What do you mean? You're in my class right now. You're in my class right now. If I'm not your professor, then what the bloody hell are you doing here? No, but thank you very highly for the compliment. Does attractiveness matter to make a good villain? That is actually a slide slightly later on. We will get to that, but that is a very good question, and you're a little bit ahead of the class. There you go. Stick a gold star on your forehead. There you go. There are times that you feel... Are there times you feel that over-the-top caricature villains actually add to the story? Yes, children's stories. Disney is a perfect example. Children's stories, over-the-top, garish villains add a lot to it. And I will say, there is a place for flamboyant villains in every story. Pagan Min from Far Cry, brilliant example. And of course, if you haven't seen it as well, another thing I'll recommend is Captain Laserhawk. Feel free to watch that if you want an absolute crash course on just good character development and writing. It's wonderful, and it has a gay romance in, so good for them. Good for them. Plus, if you ever wanted to see Rayman do a bunch of coke and then shoot people, it's great. I mean, look what happened there. If you ever want to see, but. Do all villains need to have a traumatic background? Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. Not at all. Not at all. There is actually a little bit. We will get to that. Again, you're ahead of the class. Mleh. There you go. Gold star. What about Light versus L in Death Note? Would the protagonist also be the villain? Correct. Correct as well. Correct as well. Your protagonist can be the villain, okay? There is a big difference between a villain and an antagonist, okay? I could turn around and say my goal, okay? My goal right now is to destroy the world, okay? I'm going to walk my ass over to the nearest nuclear silo and I'm going to make that place rain like it's Christmas, okay? I could say that. And the story, because it's told from my POV, would make me the protagonist. And let's say Holly, who 𝓂𝓸𝓾𝓻 earlier, has decided that she's going to stop me, right? Well, therefore, she is the antagonist to me. She's preventing me from achieving my goal. Not necessarily a villain. She's not doing things with evil intent. She's doing them for good intent. But to me, because the story is being told from my POV, well, she's getting in my way. How dare you? Very thank you for the super. Sorry, this is a few minutes behind because I was listening while making coffee, but you just got even hotter for the Drive shout out. Oh, trust me, that's my favorite movie. We can talk about Drive all day. Don't you worry. We might even do a watch along someday. That would actually be such a good member stream. What are your thoughts on villains who lose their humanity throughout the plot? Like the suave vampire losing control out of desperation to survive a hunter. Okay. That is part of the villain's story. It's a great story, okay? Villains being pushed to even more depraved depths by their protagonist is a beautiful story, and it's one that I highly, highly recommend people try out at some point. Love it, love it. Do you see Megamind as a villain, although he's a protagonist? Similarly, the Hunger Games book/movie. Transformative plot. Okay, so again, not a hero, protagonist, simply the story is told from their POV. The characters can change. Villains can become heroes. Heroes can become villains. It's sort of how in The Walking Dead, devil forgive me. However, in The Walking Dead, one of the things I have to give it praise for in its writing is that it does a really good job of turning villains into heroes and heroes into villains as humanity slowly ebbs and flows between individuals. And that is the one time I'm going to be complimenting The Walking Dead this stream. I get one a month. Otherwise Gale chokes me out. And not in a hot way. Also, yes, how would you make people feel for a villain without redeeming them too much? Oh, just show humanizing features, you know? Have them toss a few coins to a beggar when they turn around and proceed to stomp someone to death in an alleyway, you know? Have them turn around and actually have a soft side. Have them donate some of their money that they earn from their evil deeds to charity. Turn around and have them show that they're hurting people for a reason. And suddenly, it becomes so much more understandable. A compliment through gritted teeth. Indeed. Indeed. Do you believe a good villain is one that is lovable or someone that's hated beyond loved? They're two sides of the same coin. Totally two sides of the same coin. Loved, hated, hot, angry, doesn't matter, okay? I've hated someone before so much that I've ended up sleeping with them. That's the best way I could describe it, okay? It's the best way. I've hated someone so much that that's happened. Love and hate, two sides of the same coin, doesn't matter. Are villains really villains or just depending on who's telling the story and it's subjective? Beautiful, have a gold star. There you go. Just stick that on your forehead. No, totally subjective. Totally subjective. We're just talking about a very general point here. These are very general points on this slideshow. You've already got a very nuanced take just asking that question, so I'm going to give you a big thumbs up for that. That is a very nuanced take. I very much appreciate that. And of course, last question. You mentioned silent heroes. What about silent villains, like the big bad who's running everything behind the scenes and has more followers before being revealed? It's a little bit difficult. Building up a mystique is very good. Oh, I'm going to compliment another show I didn't think I would. Oh, you're You're making me compliment shows that I shouldn't, but here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Gotham, the TV show from a few years back. Okay, Gotham. They had a very good plot regarding the Court of Owls. Okay. Normally I roast the shit out of that show. However, right? Season 1, 2, brilliant. 3 went off the rails. 4 started to drag itself back. 5, but they went off the rails a bit. They came back. Okay, sometimes I have to knock them. The Jerome thing was just, forgive me. But now the Court of Owls plotline, very good. It was a perfect example of how to have a behind-the-scenes, larger-than-life entity, and that is the trick to a faceless villain, a silent villain. Have them be a larger-than-life entity. Have them be something that is so big, so much larger than the protagonist could comprehend, that you don't know if they're one person, they don't know. It's the intimidation. If they're not vocal, you need to turn the intimidation factor up to 11. Show that this unknown silent being is everywhere. Their hotel room, they're getting notes, they're getting thumbs up, they're going to turn around. That's the trick. That's the trick. Have the villain be so much larger and more intimidating. To make up for them not having the charisma of being there, you need to turn all their other stats up to 11. And I'm gesturing very wildly with my hands and I'm going to hit something in a minute, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, okay? It's gonna happen. That was the last question for the in review phase, but I do hope that clarified, okay? Larger than life villains make all the difference, okay? A good larger than life a good larger than life villain can turn around and make me beg for mercy twice. So, with that in mind, okay? The end goal. Ultimately, the role of the villain is to provide an engaging contrast to the protagonist and to enhance the overall themes and messages of the work. I have no clue who Dylan is. A true villain. Actually, I went to like nursery school with a Dylan when I was a child. He's in prison now. A true villain is a crucial element in shaping the narrative and engaging emotions and imagination. Because, okay? Because, okay? It actually does continue on this next slide. Let's, actually, no. It was back on. Wait, because was in my notes. Never mind. But a true villain is a crucial... Here it is. A true villain is a crucial element in shaping the narrative and engaging emotions because, okay? Because he is the foil to the protagonist. He is the dark mirror of who we are following. He is the equal and opposite. Things about our villain will always challenge, always innovate, always reinvent, okay? Always. The idea is that at the end, the villain has to have had a meaningful impact, because I'm going to assume you're going to be like me, and we're going to kill the villain at the end, okay? We're going to kill the villain at the end. My favorite trope that I have ever written, was the villain is killed by the hero at the end, and in the end, the villain reveals as he's laying there, he's bleeding, huge stab wound to his gut, this big brute of a man who wished to change the world and launch a revolution, you know, who the hero nobly struck down for his angelic masters in this little plot I wrote. He presses some documents, this little envelope into our hero's hand, and reveals that, in fact, the entire system he was fighting against was really inherently corrupt, and that he was trying to change things for the better. And that there is irrefutable proof now in the protagonist's hands of this, and that our protagonist has just reinforced a horrible system that continues to hurt those around him and those of this world. It kickstarted this entire thing. It's so depressing. Yes, it is, and that kind of turns around and kind of, long story short, it launched my protagonist, Sebastian, into this little moment where he had to decide if he was going to take up the gauntlet of the man he just killed and continue his plight, or if he was going to submit to the system that would see him comfortable. In the end, he chose to take up the gauntlet and was forced to fight against his own friends, which was rather... Okay. Had him make friends in the first book, earn people's respects, do all of whatever, turn around, do his thing, kill big bad villain, realize that he was enforcing a horrible false reality of horrible shitness on people, realized that he was going to take up his prior villain's torch, and then the second book had him turn against everyone who was his friends because they were also ingrained into the system that he needed to then fight against them. Good bit of angst. Good bit of angst, right? False god, exactly. False god faith. False god faith. It was wonderful. And of course, those who he couldn't play over to his side, it created some really nice angst because it's the idea of, the two sides fighting against each other. But either way, that all sprung from one villain and one villain's goals, right? The idea is that they're going to have far-reaching consequences that echo in all directions, okay? Negative character progression. Exactly. Very metal. Very metal. Very metal. Very. Sounds like one of the Yakuza games. Exactly. Okay, the Yakuza games are infamous for, their convoluted plots, but also their face turns, their heel turns. And here I go again. Another good example of this sort of modern day farce, this modern day commedia dell'arte, is professional wrestling. And it's actually one of the things I find quite interesting because the plots are so very direct, yet also convoluted. It's kind of like a soap opera with breaks for punching each other, but it's very interesting seeing heel turns, face turns, heroes become villains, villains become heroes, people become motivated. They're writing their stories potentially a year, 2 years in advance, right? And I had this conversation with Underhill like a while back, right? Not just WWE, but like whether it's AEW or TNA or any of the modern promotions. My big thing is just it's very good theatre, okay? And there's a surprising amount to be learnt from stories that you watch there, right? There's a surprising amount because it has plot lines and plot lines affecting other plot lines. It's very interesting, very interesting. Instead of having the hero kill the villain, is it possible to have the villain kill the hero without killing the story? The difficult one. Give me a moment to think on that one. I need to. Okay. Give me 1 sec. Yeah. Okay. So what you could do with that, if you're going for a hero kill, you need a dual perspective narrative. You need the narrative to be told from the hero and the villain's perspective. If you're going for a hero kill, you need to give the villain as much of a perspective in the book as the hero does, make them both the protagonist, have both of them pitch off against each other, have the villain be simply the protagonist with the harsher motives, the harsher way of doing things. Dual protagonists would sort that out, okay? So don't make them necessarily a villain, make them a villainous protagonist or an anti-hero protagonist. Okay, do that. That way you can land a hero kill and it won't kill the momentum of the book, and make sure that the hero's death does something transformative to your quote-unquote villain. Have that happen. Make sure it changes some way they go about things. Have a legacy that is then passed on. Have some fundamental emotional or mental change be the result of it. Because nothing is more crushing to a character or a narrative than having a protagonist die and their death be for nothing. You can do that to the underlings. You can do that to the friends. You can do that to the happy, peppy Sakura anime whatevers, okay? You can have Sakura get punted in the face however many times by however many villains, right? She doesn't matter, Okay, doesn't matter. If Sakura had died in Naruto, could anyone tell me what her dream was? Anyone in the class. If you can tell me what Sakura's dream from Naruto was, I will turn around and I will send you. I will cash app you like $10 right now, right? To marry Sasuke. That's not even a dream. Okay, her like she didn't have a dream. She had a man she wanted. Like it was so like she existed. Like it's true. She had no dreams. She had no dreams. She had nothing, right? She wasn't a character, she was a concept, and she still is. She still is. Okay, I genuinely think, right, that you could replace Sakura and not to dunk on some of the characters of Naruto, right? Because there are some amazing characters in there. There are some really, really great characters. But you could turn around, draw a face on a bit of wood and call it Planky and replace Sakura in any point of Naruto with Planky, and Planky would slay. Planky would fucking slay, okay? She's the equivalent of VTuber music. All right. All right, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Last time I went on. All right. Right. But you get my point. My point being, you can kill side characters without them having achieved their dreams, right? However, if you do it to a main character, a protagonist, it will kill the momentum of your story. Now, next slide. Let's go deeper, because we all like to go deep. Now, fundamentally, heroes can commit evil deeds. Villains can commit heroic deeds. It's all a perspective and the mask they choose to show to the world. Keep your villains three-dimensional, and I will show you what is up next, okay? Remember, do not let your heroes be too heroic. Have them have flaws, have them make mistakes, and every once in a while, have them do something truly horrible, just to keep people on their toes. Do you know why? Because when you're given all of that power, sooner or later you have to make a mistake. And the hero has to know that when they make mistakes, they don't make small ones. Their little mistakes get to hurt a lot of people. So, with that in mind, what does a villain need? Mooney the Spoonie, thank you for the super. So basically, be careful about killing anyone who passes the sexy lamp test. Got it. Exactly. Be careful about killing anyone who's sexy. What does a villain need? Now, these are the core plots, the core pieces, the core little bits of what a villain is, of what makes up a villain, okay? These are literally the recipe pieces, the little bits that you throw in when baking, okay? Motivation. Every villain should have a key motivation, at least themselves. Other people don't have to understand it, but the villain needs to know in their mind why they're doing what they're doing, and it needs to be clear to them, okay? It needs to be. Style. Pay attention to how you characterize your villain. They will be carrying the weight of the plot, and that is true. Your villain will be there. You need to have them written in a stylized way. And when I say stylized, I don't mean that you need to give them a really cool coat, although, always give them a really cool coat. Okay, always give them a really cool coat. That's a fact. Give them a cool fucking jacket. Look at what I wear. I'm the villain of Avalon, and I wear a really cool jacket. I always advocate, give them cool clothes. I'm a sucker for that. I'm a sucker for that. idea popped up. If you have a situation where a villain has the chance to save their loved one or some completely random person, how would that play out? Would that be a good flaw? That is a good example. So it's always a classic example of having them be like loved one versus random. Hero always goes for the random, villain always chooses to save someone they love. Or maybe you could switch it around, have the villain save a random and sacrifice someone they love, depending on their own things. And the hero kind of makes that mistake and turns around and willingly sacrifices someone they don't know. Mooney with the follow-up question. I meant be careful about killing anyone where the plot would be appreciably different if you replaced them with a sexy lamp, but I'll roll with it. Yeah, sure, that too. You know, sexy lamps are always good. So, I actually have a lamp which isn't a lamp. It's actually like, wait, can I say this? Yeah, I can. Okay, so I was looking at lamps to order online a few months back, right? And all of them were really expensive. And then for some reason, in my little like recommended for you, there was like a bioluminescent sculpture. And it was of a rather like intimate thing, right? It was of an intimate organ, right? But it was an actual sculpture. It's an actual like an actual sculpture, and it was cheaper than the lamps I was looking to buy, right? And I was like, that's cheaper than the lamps. And when I say cheaper than lamps, it was like $20 to $30 cheaper than the lamps, right? And I'm like, and and the thing is, there was like a video of it glowing, and it was like a really like nice soft blue glow, and I'm like, that seems like a really nice light to read to, and I'm like, and it's cheaper, and you know, I might as well have a bioluminescent glowing thing as a lamp in my home. So I bought it, and it is there, and there is a glowing. No, it is a genuine sculpture. It is a genuine sculpture. It's real. It is a real sculpture. It's not for use like that. Okay, it's not for use like that. Listen, I'm not show it. Back on class. Okay, enough talking about glowing blue dicks. Okay, back on class. Okay, we've had it. Your brain's out of the gutter. Okay, we save that for later. Moral ambiguity. Have your villain play in shades of grey. Okay, we're talking about villains. Have your villain play in shades of grey. Do you know why they play in shades of grey? Because they're not the heroes. They're the antagonists. They're the ones doing bad things. People do bad things. Okay, people do. They do. Okay, bad people do good things. Good people do bad things. Feel free to switch up the story. Okay, feel free to switch up the story. And no, we don't know who it was molded after. It's fantasy shaped. But foils, they should always, as I mentioned earlier, they reflect the hero's weaknesses and strengths and subvert them. Okay, they subvert them. So, with that in mind, okay, have them turn around and be better versions of the hero at some things. Have them be a little bit better. Have them be more charitable. Have them be nicer. Have them be something, right? Have them have positive traits that sometimes outweigh the heroes in their generosity, in their positivity, in their charitable nature. Have them have something that actually makes them the protagonist go, damn, I wish I had that. Okay, have them be a little bit better in some positive aspect of them. Because if you make some evil, grimy little monster, then that's fine. You know, it needs better at everything, and the evil sort of, I'm trying to find the right way to phrase this. There are very few groups or individuals throughout the whole of history that we consider in the modern day to be completely evil, irredeemable, and are just the bad guys by default, right? So keep that in mind when you are writing. Have your villain not be just some anomalous black cloud of evil and unlikable traits. The reason villains get into positions of power is because they do have good traits. They're smart, they're smarmy, they're brilliant, they're sweet. And of course, you can always subvert these things to add more to the story, right? You can always turn around and do things like that. And wait, how does that work in like a Joker and Batman sense? What does Joker have that makes him better than Batman? That's a very, very good question. Now, Batman and the Joker are a little bit more, I want to say, abstract, all right? But I will say, there's a certain level of, I want to say, ingenuity to the Joker. There's a level of creativity. If you notice in the relationship between Batman and the Joker, the Batman is always reacting. He's never the one acting. Joker takes the initiative. He always leads the story forward. He charges forward. He's always willing to go further. Now, when it comes to redeeming qualities, though, that's the thing. He's an agent of chaos. He is a big ball of terrible and evil. But we do see some examples throughout the comic book series where the Joker does do good things. When he turns around and tries to kill Red Skull, because Red Skull is one of the Friendship Windmill group. For the word I can't say on YouTube. When he turns around and like threatens to kill a dude's father because he doesn't spend as much time with his son as he does. There are those moments throughout the comic where he does do good things occasionally. It's very rare, very, very rare, but we do see it. And it's a little, I want to say a little subversion here and there once in a while. But with that sort of in mind, we go to arcs and development. Now, just like protagonists, villains should undergo arcs and development. They should. Have them change, have them ebb and flow as things go on. Have them change with the tides. Have them do things, okay? Also, just as a side note that just popped into my head with the Joker and Batman thing, their relationship is so strange and so intertwined. At this point, I'm not necessarily sure that we can class Joker as a villain or as much, but more of like an antagonist, or perhaps a dude protagonist in relation to. It's weird because people want to see how fucked up the Joker gets with what he does, and there's almost a thing. It's the same reason people slow down to look at a car crash, you know? Like, it might not be in your lane, but there's always going to be some idiot that slows down and kind of like, you know, they're driving along and they're like looking out the window as they're going, and they're like, oh, I'm looking at what's going on, you know? It's that. Making noises like that. And of course, consequences. Now, is to the side. Moriarty from Sherlock Holmes. Oh, Moriarty. Like, he has the charisma. He has the charisma, baby. He has the charisma, baby. I love Moriarty. He has the charisma. You know, he's charismatic. He's shiny. He's there. He's grrr. You know, grrr. But the consequences. Explore the consequences of your villain's actions. The hero should fail at least once. Now, I mentioned this earlier, and I mentioned this last stream as well. Have the hero fail majorly at least once in the story so you can show the consequences of failure. This is very important because the villain's triumph should always come at the cost of the hero at one point, right? At one point. The villain's triumph should always come at the cost to the hero. Preferably great personal cost as well. If there's a big healthy dollop of great personal cost and angst, that's even better, okay? But make sure that triumph is always reflected in the world around you. And of course, perspective. Now, I've highlighted this earlier. Take the time to have your audience see things from the villain's POV. And you know what? If you give the villain a good motivation, a good bit of inspiration, then suddenly you're sat with this really good, compelling narrative of two people with two opposing belief systems, neither of which is inherently right or wrong, but are forced to go up against each other, one of them being the antagonist and one of them being the protagonist. And it creates a really, really good load of sparks. It crackles. You can feel it, you know, when you've got two people who both believe they're right, both believe they're doing the right thing, and both have two different goals for what is to come. It snaps, it crackles, it pops, and that's just what it does to my back. So that's a wonderful example of that. A wonderful example. Now, with that, slide 11 or 10, sorry. If evil, why hot? I know this is the question that many people have asked. Okay, many people have asked this question throughout the entirety of this. Okay, and okay, there is a reason. There is a reason for this. There is actually a reason for this. It's so real in storytelling, it needs a slide. It actually needed a slide for me to go into this. Not only that, but this is actually one of the slides I have the most notes for, okay? That last one, most of it was on the board. This one, I have to do a lot with my own words, but this is actually a very important part of the story, okay? Very important part. Very, very, very important part, okay? If evil, why hot? I know all of you out there are little villain fuckers, okay? I know all of you like the bad guys, okay? Let's not lie to each other. The bad guys, the anti-heroes, okay? I know most of you simp for 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽, right? I can see you out there. I see those of you who simp for 𝓱𝓸𝓼𝓽. I see those of you who like the evil ones. I see you. I'm the same. I like them too. I like the bad guys too, okay? I know you're there. I know you're there. Villain supremacy. Okay? Yes, I'm tapping the pen on the table. Okay? I see you. I see all of you. Right? Listen. Bonus points if the villains listen. I don't blame you. Villain fuckers are built different. You wouldn't be here. I feel like I have an audience here of villain fuckers. That's why you're in my chat or in my class, okay? Villains are hot. And I'm going to be breaking down why villains are hot. I'm going to break that down for you. And we're going to get a real scientific answer. Okay? A real answer. Now, I tweeted on Twitter when I first got on there 2 and a bit months ago, right? 2 and a bit months ago. Competency is hot, okay? I have a competence kink, all right? And you will see throughout the entirety of human interaction that competency is hot. Samire, thank you for the super. Thank you for the lecture. I watched The Devil Wears Prada today and everything you said really makes me think back to the characters in the plot. Hey, thank you. Honestly, even if you're not a writer, I really, really think that this stuff is just good to know and really useful for just a bit of reflection. But competency is hot, so not moron sexual. I mean, even moron sexual has some perks, right? But competency is hot. There's always a competency kink. Okay, we are hardwired, or most people are hardwired to find competency hot. When someone's able to do things competently, okay? When your sink is broken and the handsome repair person comes in and, you know, fixes your sink in 5 minutes flat after water was spilling everywhere and just does so with a smile, it's like easy, you know? When something turns around and is easily, very quickly fixed, when your computer problems are fixed by your handsome colleague who very quickly, you know, sorts everything out, when things are slightly messed up at work and someone struts over and heads to your computer and punches the few numbers in and it's fixed, you know, when I don't know, what's another good one? I you understand what I'm saying, though. When you are in situations where you need help with something, right? And the person just comes in, does it easily, takes care of you, and then walks away. It is, for a lot of people anyway, I'm not saying for all in general, but it is extremely attractive. For example, if a handsome professor turns around and talks you through how to write a really good villain or narrative in a very competent, very concise way, and also heaps praise upon you while it happens, like you're a good little human who's trying your hardest, and I appreciate all of your creative endeavors, then suddenly that's a little bit, it's a little bit odd. So, with that in mind, competency is key to making a villain. Why? Because it does two things. It makes them a legitimate and genuine threat to the protagonist, and it makes them very attractive to your audience. It doesn't matter what they look like. Think of how many villains have been written as traditionally unattractive or ugly or have something with them that's not quite, necessarily the most beautiful thing. And yet, because they are able to be competent with what they do, it's insanely, people find them hot. Okay. Corypheus. Bowser? Bowser? Wait, hold up. Someone, wait. Can we slam the brakes on that one for a second? Wait, Bowser? Wait, I'm sorry. Ayo. Wait a minute. Get over here. Get over here. Bowser? Like from Mario? Who said Bowser? Wait, come back. I just want to ask some questions. Come back. I just want to ask some questions. Hold up. Oh, not Bowsette. Bowser. Your princess is in another castle, Bowser. He didn't get anything right. He screws up everything. That's the point of the game. Why do you want to get fucked by a giant spiky turtle? What? Why do you want to get fucked by the dad bod turtle? He's hot. Fucking scaly. Okay. All right. I don't judge, though. I don't judge. If that's what rocks your boat, if that's what cooks your goose, then I'm not going to say anything. All right. But with that in mind, let's keep going. Let's keep going. So, with that, have your villain be a credible threat to the hero at all times. Well, part of that is because of the fact that the parts of our brain that find fear and arousal are linked. That's actually quite a large part of things. So, for those who don't know, the fear and arousal centers of our brain are very, very closely linked. It's why whenever people put on horror movies, there's a good chance that they're going to end up smashing, right? That is part of it. It's why some people like terrifying monsters. It's why have any of you, this is a thing that I'm going to say, have any of you turned around and ever filled out that I'm outing myself slightly here, monster fucker bingo card that went viral online a couple of years ago, right? There was a monster fucker bingo card that went around online a while back that went very viral. And I filled it out, right? But with that one, yes, no. For those who don't know, a bingo card went around that, that it's like, oh, this, do you have a bingo? And it listed different aspects of monsters that you find attractive, whether it was claws, sharp teeth, shapeshifter, wings, that sort of thing. And people filled it out, and if you got 5 in a row, it's a bingo. However, with the Monster Fucker bingo card, there were things like eldritch entities, eldritch monsters, eldritch something or others, and of course something about eldritch entities are rather hot, arachnophobic, but dried as wood. Indeed, I feel you there, very much so. But with that in mind, the same parts of our brain that drive us towards fear, to be afraid of things that could kill us, also is part of the brain that tickles our arousal centers. So, suddenly, it's why werewolves have such a strong grip on the romantic and lewd book marketplace. It's why werewolves have that, okay? Because they're scary, they're fierce, they're unpredictable, and, sometimes you're always a little bit worried. You never know what could or what couldn't happen. You don't know whether they're going to snap or whether they're not. And, with that, it's why they've got the grip that they do. And obviously, this has translated into many, many things. It's why vampires, werewolves, killer beings have done so well. But finally, villains are passionate creatures, and it's why we love them. Villains are sometimes unbridled, uncontained. They don't keep to the rules of the world. They make the rules, okay? They are great. They turn around and do things. They don't keep to the rules. They are the outside edge. They are the ones that don't turn around and what's the word? They don't keep to. They make the rules. It's why they're so hot. It's why people love bad boys. Right? I'm going to say this again. It's the classic, it's a little basic, but it's the bad boy love, Everyone loves a bad boy. Why? Because they don't stick the rules. They do what they want. And that's why we like villains. Sometimes they're in positions of power. Sometimes they're in positions of authority. But they always take advantage of those positions, don't they? To do what they want. Also, Mooney the Spoonie, thank you for the super. Makes sense. They're both survival instincts, just one's individual level and one's species level. Exactly. I think I read somewhere in I believe it was a neuroscience journal, that when we think we're in a situation that we may die, if we don't have the fight response. Essentially, I read a neuroscience journal article, I want to say about 3 or 4 months back. It was while I was in Japan, actually, where the person who wrote it argued that it wasn't just, you know how there are 3 responses: fight, flight, or freeze. There's fight, flight, or freeze. You fight whatever's threatening you, you run from whatever's threatening you, or you freeze up from whatever's threatening you. The individual that was writing this article in the neurological journal actually argued that there was 4 responses, and it was fight, flight, freeze, or fuck. And those were the 4 responses, right? So the question was, if you can't fight it, then you flee from it. If you can't flee from it, you freeze up. Or, if your brain chooses one of the above options. And it's why people tend to be in deadly situations. It's suddenly so romantic, It's why life and death situations, and this is another thing that is actually strangely common, which is, people who are involved in shared traumatic experiences that were life and death often end up getting together as couples, which is something that, I'm not sure if that is necessarily correct. That was the argument made in the article, and they kind of made that statement. I'm not sure how much water that holds, but I could definitely see it, the trauma bonding, as it were. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting. And it's the part of your brain that's trying to keep your genetic code alive, as it were. But obviously that was just one of the many theories. But it's definitely a thing where we kind of lean into why villains are hot, and that is that they're scary and we want to jump their bones for it. Now, second to last, Zanny's cheat codes. Now, it's not a writing stream unless I give you cheat codes, right? I'm handing them to you. I'm pretty much a little bit of scrunched up paper that you find in an old copy of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, okay? These are the cheat codes. This is how you get infinite money. My cheat codes for writing. You don't have to use these, but use them, okay? Remember, keep your villain dynamic and unpredictable. Whenever they're in a scene, be ready to have them do something wild that no one expected, okay? Do you think Satan from Paradise Lost is a hot villain, and why? It's Satan. Satan's always hot. Always. But always turn around and keep them unpredictable. Keep them wild. If you're able to keep your audience guessing, then that means they're paying full attention to your video, to your villain. As long as you're keeping them guessing, they don't know what's next, and that means they're engaged. Okay. Next, don't overuse your villain. Seeing your villain should be a treat for the audience. Okay, it should be a treat. When they appear, it should be considered a treat, delightful, fun, wonderful. People need to be excited for what the villain does when he or she or they or whatever arrives, right? Whenever the villains or the villain or whoever arrive, they need to be excited to see what happens next, because it's always got to be a wild ride. And of course that plays into the third point. When in the scene, have the villain steal the show. Always, excuse me, have the villain steal the show. Have them be so incredible. It's like me when I'm like this and I'm all hyped up. Suddenly you can't look anyway. You can't look away. You can't look anywhere else. You haven't checked the time for a little bit. You've looked up from Twitter you haven't looked at Twitter for the past 5 minutes. Why? Because of the fact that I've been talking fast. I've been engaging. I've been funny. I've been throwing out little things. I've been turning around and talking about one thing, another. As long as your villain is being direct, being engaging, hitting what's going on, hitting the points, Tai Lung from Kung Fu Panda, all of that stuff, right? As long as they're hitting the points, hitting the bars and making sure that things flow very, very quickly, keeping things unpredictable, it's good. It's good. And it means that your focus isn't on your phone, it's not on Twitter, it's not on Facebook, it's not on Instagram, it's not on it's not on one of those yaoi websites you look at. Okay, it's here with me. Okay, it's here with me. Don't look at the boys kissing. Look at me. Okay, look at me. I'm the boy kisser now. But have the villain always change the playing field to create a sense of anxiety in your audience. Okay, have them do that. Okay, have them do that. Whenever the villain's around, they change the world. They flow. They make things different. Okay? They make things different. They say that, they say, who are they? The villain needs to change and create anxiety in the audience. Why? Because unpredictability creates anxiety. People like to know what happens next, right? So if I turn around and I wish I could play clips on this stream. I really fucking wish I could. But having the villain just randomly kill someone who would seem kind of important up until that point, or having the villain do something unpredictable, having the villain do something that completely fucks the plot. First season of Sherlock. Okay, we're winding back the clock a little bit. I'm using this as an example. First season of Sherlock Holmes. Okay, it's been over 10 years. I'm not scared of saying a spoiler. If you're scared, then if you're worried about the first season of the Sherlock, the BBC series from like 2012, okay, Jim Moriarty, BBC Sherlock. If you're worried about a spoiler from the first ever season, season 1, okay, mute yourselves for the next 30 seconds, okay? Mute yourself for the next mute me for the next 30 seconds, okay? Step away. It's been like 10 years. Step away. Are you ready? Okay, we're good. Are we good? We good? Good. Whenever Jim Moriarty was on screen, he was electrifying. Why? Because he always had a twist. He always had a trump card. He always had something. And even in the final confrontation of season 1, or was it season 2? I'm not quite sure. But even in the final confrontation of that season, when they're on the rooftop and Sherlock's finally outsmarted him, I can walk away. I've thought of something smart. There's an easy answer, right? Even then, in season 2, again, walk away if you haven't seen the end of season 2. Even then, when you're in this rooftop, season 2, Sherlock's outsmarted him. He's got a way to walk away. Oh, finally, Moriarty's caught. Oh, I'm so smart. I just need to walk off this roof now. Moriarty pulls out a gun and he's like, guess what, Sherlock? Kablam! I've decided to paint the walls with my brain. Do you know why? Because that fucks you in this situation, because you need me alive, and now I'm dead, and now everyone you love is going to die, because I'm willing to destroy myself to destroy you. Okay, that's such a Chad move. That's such a huge balls move. The pool scene, incredible. Pool scene was incredible. That was just an anything you can do, I can do better, but turned up on to 11. But just the commitment to always doing something out of there. Okay, like this is like, okay, we're spoiler free now. Spoiler free for people who are there. I'm gonna aggressively rock back and forth to let people who have muted know that we're spoiler free. We're spoiler free, everyone. We're free now. We're free. But yes, okay. Having your villain take things over the edge, change the playing field, do calculated things just to get there. It cultivates a sense of dread because fear is beautiful, okay? Fear is profit. Fear keeps people coming back for more, okay? Why do you think every single Facebook and Twitter article is written like the world's ending? Because it gets people to come back for more. That's your villain, okay? Just have your villain be better than a quick clickbait headline, okay? Just do that. Fear of the unknown. Humans are hardwired to fear the unknown. That's why I like your people so much. And of course, the big final punch. Show everyone just how terrible your villain is, how awful and evil they are, and then violently humanize them. Violently humanize them. Make them people. Have them show weakness. Have them show humanity. Have them show kindness. Have them turn around and show that there's a reason for like they are. And it's actually a good one, not a trope, okay? It wasn't because mummy didn't hug them enough, okay? It wasn't because of the fact that their crush left them before prom, okay? It doesn't have to stem from childhood trauma. That's cheap. It's the equivalent of bottom shelf vodka that you drink in the park and it tastes like paint stripper, okay? Childhood trauma is the equivalent of that. But whether it's, again, and I'm gonna give you a little cheat code here, okay? Look back on the conflict chart I did last stream, right? Look back on that, and you can use those exact same conflict reasons to find out what humanizes a villain, okay? I've already given you all of the tools. I've already given you all of the tools to do things, and that they can actually all be used interchangeably. You can take things from part 1 and move them into part 2 and carry them all the way forward to when I finish this series. I've made it so that all of the lessons have resources that can be used in an interchangeable fashion. It's actually something kind of smart that I thought of. It's connected, exactly, it's connected. So, with that in mind, I believe that takes us to the final slide. Thanks for saving me money, Zanny. It's all good. Thank you. So, Thank you all for sitting through my presentation, hearing me talk about something, give you guys a nice little lesson about things. And I'm really glad that we were able to do that. So what I'll do is I'll take a final round of questions and see what there is, if there are any things that need sort of clarification or any points, and we can turn around and just sort of shape things up. And I can tell you about what I have planned for the rest of the week as well, because you've been a very good class, okay? Everyone here has been strangely behaved, and I think that's very interesting. That's very interesting. I appreciate it. Okay, you've been good little students. You've been very, very good. You've been very, very good. No need for a detention later. Okay, no need for you to stay behind with me. All right, let's go over to the other room. Here we go. Let me kick my feet up on the desk. All right, now here's a question. What do you think about the shift from villains throughout history often were given deformities to appear monstrous and evil to the more modern, where they are made to be more attractive? That's a very interesting point. So it's a cultural thing, massively. It's more of a cultural thing in, I want to say, Western storytelling than it is in other cultures. Now, I think that it essentially plays into the classic trope of othering and fear of those who are different. And I think people realized that the ugly on the outside is bullshit. The scariest people are ugly on the inside. The scariest people are ugly on the inside because of the fact that they can get away with acting like nice people. Okay? It's a good example to say Dandy from American Horror Story Season 4. In fact, American Horror Story Freak Show that was the entire point of the show, actually. That those who are ugly on the outside can have very kind, very pure souls, and those who are quote-unquote, normal, whatever the fuck that is, are the ones who can turn around and be the most ugly, horrible people on the inside, who can be the most demented, okay? I'm a demon, and even I can say, some of you humans are demented. But yes, I think the shift to more attractive is the way that our culture has begun to perceive good and evil, and I would say it's a statement that we've begun to judge people by aspects that are more than just skin deep. So overall, it's a positive change for the industry. What about a person who is close to the protagonist but turned into a villain because of envy? Would that be considered a grey villain? So I try not to, when I talk about writing, fall into grey protagonists, grey villains, white heroes, black this. I try not to use the shades of grey system, just because of the fact that it tends to muddy the waters quite heavily and influence the way you write the plot. And I think that I would say a protagonist who turns into a villain because of envy of someone close to the protagonist, very doable. It's very good. And yeah, I would simply say try not to stay locked into those sorts of roles of like grey villain, all of that, because things are never going to fit cleanly into those molds. Again, what I've given is very, very, very general. Very general. Here we go. How would one go about writing a Stockholm Syndrome romance between a villain and a victim? Ooh. I would say... Alright. I would say the first thing to do would be to look up the psychological effects and the psychological nature of controlling relationships and relationships centered around I would say abusive partners. I would say look at that. Look at the psychological impact and transformation that can be found, and then try and gently apply that over time to a Stockholm Syndrome environment, because it's always going to be kind of centered around coercive control, and that the coercive control just builds into false emotion. Because again, it's the constant fight or flight set of emotions, isn't it? Fight, flight, fuck. So those are it's keeping that in there. Research is very important. But with the follow-up. In terms of moral ambiguity, can villains be pure black instead of coded grey? Any examples if there are any? There are villains out there who, I suppose are pure evil, but they usually tend to be based in the supernatural. you know, obviously, or just psychopaths or sociopaths. There are times I would say it's simply the fact that the easiest way to have a villain be pure evil is to have them like when they do evil things because they enjoy the control. That's probably it. That and, you know, horror movies. Look at Jason. Look at Freddy. Look at the big horror movie massive people, you know? The ones that revel in the sort of violence and slaughter they bring in are the best. Any more examples of female villains? That's a very good one. I'm going to say that a great example of a female villain in this case, I'm going to reference... I'm trying to think of... Obviously, Azula's my go-to because she's just very well written as a character. However, I'm actually going to ebb into a good example of another villain with Poison Ivy from Batman, because she's not inherently a villain. Like, she's... All right, I'm gonna share a secret here, okay? Poison Ivy was written in like the 70s, when like people like the 70s or 80s or something, when people were like, you know, protesting eco stuff and looking after the planet and everything, and like she was written as a villain for that. But now, in like 2024, the stuff that she says about is kind of reasonable. Like, hey, stop burning down forests. Hey, stop polluting rivers. Hey, stop poisoning fucking earth stuff. It's not unreasonable. So they kind of have to like, so they're like, she's in such a weird place as a villain because they don't quite know what to do with her, and they have to like kind of invent new bad things for her to do. Because like when she turns around and she's like, I'm going to destroy this board of directors because they've dumped chemicals in the Gotham reservoir. I'm like, yeah, no, do it. Yeah, no, do it, love. Do it. You got my support. Yeah, no shit. They tipped a bunch of chemicals in there. Like, think of the children. Yeah, no. The fish have 3 eyes now. Hey, look, it's blinky. Like, no, go. She's got a point. But yes. But yes, she's a good example for a female villain. Another one I would say is... See, I'm trying to pick out the very best. There are a few in my mind, but I don't want to go with one that's cheapened by like overt, I don't want to say sex appeal, because, you know, I always have, what can I say? I have a bit of a dislike for sort of, I have a dislike for when female villains are written with a bit too much like unnecessary sex appeal, if that makes sense. Like you're a villain, you're already hot. You don't need to trivialize the sort of, like, I guess you don't need to trivialize what's already there. Although I will say Maleficent is a very good one. Maleficent's very nice, very cool. Love that. Cersei Lannister, cool as well. She's a villain, she's great. And she's written in a very compelling way. You know, Bellatrix Lestrange, another one as well. Those are the ones I'm gonna throw in. Obviously, Maleficent on top. Maleficent indeed on top. But a question: should villains need to change into good people eventually, or just be evil the whole story? Well, that's up to you. You're the writer. You're the creator. It's up to you. They can. They cannot. Whatever works with the tone of your story. There can be redemption, there can be absolution, there can be anything, really, if you feel like it. Oh, Tish. Is it a good idea to have a villain that have a fear of something worse than death, e.g. have their powers taken away and be banished so there's no way home? That's a good question. It's a really good question. I would say that fear is a good motivator for villains. In fact, I would say fears are one of the best motivators. So if you want to tie a fear to a weakness and then have them act in a certain way because of that weakness, that's kind of the best way for a villain to make mistakes that the protagonist can take advantage of. That's my little tip. That's my little tip. Question: does Professor Umbridge have any redeeming quality criteria at all? See, here's the thing. She doesn't. And it makes sense, because even to this day, she's championed as pure evil. Like, heck, she's the classic British teacher. I don't know, she had good taste in tea. That was about it. Conflict. Any tips on running a conflict between two groups that can both be considered villainous? Yes. Yes. I would say when the conflict is between the two groups, focus in on individual members of the groups, humanize them, make sure we see the conflict from their perspective to give it extra weight and gravity, and make sure that both groups think they're right and that you can see things from a man on the ground level when it comes to the individuals there. That's my little tip. That's my little tip. I think that's a good little one. That's a good for real. She's just a really British teacher. Would a villain be considered hot if they're mentally unstable but still have a soft spot for the protagonist or something? Oh, that's just a yandere. That's just a yandere. You've given me a yandere, okay? Yanderes are default hot, you know? You know, yandere Zanny says, you know, I'm so glad you came to my club tonight. Because now you'll never leave. I get you all to myself. Don't worry. I'm sure you'll learn to love it. You know, it's that. You know? It's the cute thing. We love yanderes here. We stan yanderes. Okay? So who's trying to bonk me? Don't bonk me. Yandere Zanny voice pack Gwen. Who knows? Ask for it enough on Twitter and it might happen. I choked on my morning coffee. I mean, you'll be... No. But yes, the Stockholm Syndrome writer is having a field day. True. Dark Overlords. Can the villain be the memory or the ghost of someone instead of a living person? I mean, for those to be a thing, I would say those are always based within the mind of another character, whether it's your protagonist or something else. And I would say that having a protagonist's villain be their own mind leads to a very cerebral narrative. Try and have some type of personification on some level, even if it's just a minor antagonist or an antagonist that doesn't play a huge role in the story, reflecting some of the traits of what haunts this particular character, which is there, you know. There's always a nice bit of trauma. There's always a nice bit of trauma to be had. Would I consider the main character from Gone Girl to be the villain, or is the husband everyone? I think Gone Girl was a perfect example of just a show where a movie where everyone was terrible on some level. Everyone was. Like it's sticking. It's like an episode of, I don't know if you guys have big. Let me have a sip of water. I have water here. I have a bottle of water. Fun fact: I have a bottle of water that was a beer bottle, and I recycled it because it has like a little poppy cap on to just be my water bottle. There we go. So. I don't know if you guys have Big Brother, wherever you are, the reality show, but sometimes just sticking a bunch of villains in a confined space together and watching them duke it out is like an episode of Big Brother. Just do it, you know? Just go for it. Does the villain have to be a physical being, or could it be a concept holding the protagonist back? Well, it's an antagonist. It's usually a physical being in the story. I mean, there are challenges to overcome within oneself, but there needs to be some sort of physical manifestation, because if it's all in someone's head, then the playing field can't be changed. There can't be those randomness, there can't be the levels, there can't be the different things, there can't be the sudden pops, you know? But it's all good. That reminds me, not on topic. Did your mic shop? I'm still waiting for it. It's being held by customs right now, and they're waiting to clear it. They've got the paperwork, but it's in a warehouse a couple cities over, and they're waiting to clear it. So I'm hoping that it will come before the end of the week, and if not, I am making plans for something that I can also do as a membership stream while I'm waiting for it. So I definitely want to do it, and you know, I have plans. Professor, can smut be used as a tactic for villains to move the plot, or is it a cheap cop-out for the hot villain? Totally agree about fear and arousal. Oh, no, you can use smut. In fact, I actually think that that's one of the smarter approaches to certain issues. I think that using smut to drive the story forward is definitely possible. It's always... I mean, let's be honest, right? Sometimes it's easier to fuck your way through a problem. And having a villain turn around and actually be willing to sleep with a problem to move it out of the way, I mean, it can be a show of character, and it can also show a certain level of manipulation to them as well. As a fanfic writer, Zanny agreeing makes me feel so validated. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad. I'd say we have time for two more questions before we start wrapping things up. Now, Oliver, what would be a good way to have the villain turn out more like the hero and the hero turn out more like the villain? Would having normal people start noticing the hero's very morbid acts as they start making it be good? Oh, that's a very good question, Oliver. That's a very good question. Here, have a gold star. There you go. Stick that on your forehead. Okay, so a good way to have the hero become more like the villain and the villain come more like the hero would be to have them start finding more common ground. Have them start being impressed by the other one just a little bit. Have the villain start to envy certain traits about the hero and have him pause and occasionally emulate them. Have the hero start being a little bit harsher and start finding common ground with the villain. I think I mentioned it last stream with the last class, but when I turned around and said, having a hero slowly descend into villainy is them starting to look at things in a more calculating light. If I have the choice between stopping my villain and letting 10 people die by doing so, or saving 10 people and letting the villain get away, it's simple math. Start having the hero become more analytical, more logical, more harsh with the choices they make, because that is the quickest way to just cook and watch them become a little bit worse. Okay, and I wasn't here for the past hour, so this question might be a repeat, but what are tips to not make your villain's apprentice disappear and either be seen as not evil or unimportant? So we actually cover that in the last class we did. So there will be I believe it's script writing 101. I do cover that in script writing 101. That's an entire like couple of slides devoted to that. So if you hop back and have a look at that VOD, you will see there's a bit where I talk about the first ally of the villain, and it's really good. It's really good. And it's honestly, it's one of my favorites. If you do just want to watch that, you don't have to watch the whole thing. I won't force you to sit through a VOD. If you just skip to the bit where you want to hear about it, just go there. I won't hold it against you. And of course, you know, I would appreciate, you know, just a little the odd watch. That would be very sweet. But question: is there an example of a story that doesn't have a specific tall tale villain, but it leads the viewers to decide whether someone is a villain or not? So you're here saying, well, So this is more common in series, mainly episodic ones. And I'd say The Walking Dead is a good example. Villains become heroes, heroes become villains. I would say an ebbing and flowing plot, told from multiple perspectives, is usually the way that this happens the most. That's usually the way it goes. Ebbing and flowing plots, episodic shows, they have a habit of never setting someone or one particular person up as the villain. It's like Monster of the Week, except with characters, except sometimes you kill the monster and sometimes the monster joins your side. Like, again, good example there, Game of Thrones. You know, I personally think King Joffrey was a wise and noble ruler. No, it was in no reality is that true, but it shows that there's no particular good person, and there's more just the characters you root for and the ones you hate the least, or the ones that have things about them that you just personally simp for. But with that in my psychic damage, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. But on that note, I think that sounds like a perfect place for us to start wrapping up today's stream. So thank you all for coming out today. I've really appreciated getting to do another one of these classes, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. I really, really do. And of course, I will be back later this evening playing the adventure game Expeditions with Lucy. It's a Bloodlust collab. It's one of the rare things that happen. He and I decided to stay up late and he decided to get up early. So it's one of those things where we're in different time zones, but our schedules have collided. So thank you all for coming out. If you want to swing by, I'll be posting the stream just after I'm done here. But thank you all. Much love. Mwah, mwah. And I will see you all very soon. It's good to be back and even better to have you all here with me. So until the next, much love. Bye-bye.